In the name of the Father, and the Son, and the Holy Spirit, one God, amen. So, let's take a step back before we jump into the readings of today and kind of examine where we've gone over this past Holy Week. And for those who are just kind of tuning in and getting into the Holy Week thing right now, if you missed any of the past services, that's the kind of the beautiful thing about them all being on YouTube is they're all saved there, as well as the sermons from this past week. So you can just go to our YouTube channel, you can get yourself caught up. Because clearly, if you've been with us since Sunday or Saturday, whenever we started this thing, clearly God is working a specific message, okay? And God has a clear line that he's teaching to us here. And that clear line is to look within, okay? It's to examine on the inside and to go deeper than the surface level and see what it is that is inside of us. Because as we agreed in the very beginning of this week, this is not the week of death. This is the week of life from death, okay? So it's not the week of life. It's not the week of death. If you take one without the other, you're incomplete. Yes, it's the week of life, but it's life coming from death. So it's not just death by itself. This is not just a week where we talk about how we need to crucify our flesh and we need to kill ourselves and we need to repent and we need to do all those things. It's a week of we need to do all those things. We need to enter into death willingly, as Christ did, so that we can be raised with him in new life as he was as well. So it's life from death. And we talked about that life at the beginning of the week, and we said that the life is not an improved life. It's not a step up from where we are. It's a completely new life. Okay, and we gave the example from the C.S. Lewis book about Mere Christianity, how he talked about a tin man, okay, and the life that Christ wants to give to us as if a tin man, like a little toy soldier, were to come to life. But the only way that that tin man can come to life, okay, is he first has to be killed, okay, his tin flesh has to be killed. And what happens is the tin man is going to resist the dying because what he's going to say is, I don't want to lose the tin flesh because all he knows is the tin flesh. So he's going to resist, but in the end, it's going to be the best thing for him. And that's what we're trying to do here this week as well, is we're trying to find new life with Christ. And in order to find the new life, we must be willing to let go of the old. And what we agreed as with Christ, Christ didn't just die, Christ was killed. Okay, there's a difference. Okay, our old man, the old life is not going to die by itself. It has to be killed. It has to be something that we do. And what we're going to do, as we've been talking about all week, is we're going to go deep inside. Okay, and we're going to go past the surface. And we're going to open the closet door on the demons that are within us. Okay, and the things that we don't like to look at, and the things that we like to distract ourselves from, the things that are in there that are ugly. And you know what? It's better just to keep ourselves busy with distractions in TV and social media and work and soccer practice and different commitments. Keep ourselves busy so that we don't have to see those things that are inside. And that's why one of the things that we agreed is that we are going to spend every day for the rest of this week 30 minutes in silence. We agreed that, didn't we? We agreed we're going to spend 30 minutes per day. And for some of you out there saying, oh, I didn't make it yet today. Well, I got good news for you. The day isn't over yet. And my plan is to finish about 15 minutes earlier than we expected. Okay, so there you go. I just gave you half of that time back. So if we finish here by 9:15, you still spend 15 minutes. You get to 9:30, another 15 minutes, you get your half hour. Because God arranged for us to have nothing to do in life during this week. Okay, you were supposed to take Holy Week as a special kind of week, and God arranged it that the entire world has shut down. So if we cannot spend that quiet time with God this week, it's going to be difficult for us to do it when life goes back. And again, the reason why, as we looked at the past couple days, is the outside is not enough. Okay, God is not pleased with the outside alone. That's why when Father Timothy was talking to us yesterday and the day before about that fig tree, Jesus was not happy with that fig tree, not about the tree, but what the tree represented, which was the hiding of the truth, okay? The hiding and the self-deception and not trying to see what's on the inside. That's also why Jesus went into the temple and he cleansed the temple, okay? And the temple representing us, we are the temple of God because he went on the inside. And he wasn't, on the outside, the temple was beautiful and it was gorgeous and it was high and it was great, but on the inside, it was not good. And that's why Jesus went in there and he got rid of all the bad stuff that was inside there. And the expression that Father Timothy told us, the thing that he said, which I like so much, that thank God that he hates the things that hurt me. Okay? Thank God that he hates the things that hurt me, but he still is willing to forgive them. And that's what our job is this week. Okay, our job is to find the things that are on the inside that he hates, and he hates them because they hurt me. And our job is not to reject the work of God, but to accept it. So now, with that said, let's talk about going inside. What is it that we can expect to find? What are we supposed to do? Okay, I'm saying spend 30 minutes a day in quiet. Do what? What am I supposed to do? Like I'm supposed to sit and examine myself. What am I supposed to find? Just talk about my sins? Father Anthony, it's not going to take me 30 minutes to list my sins. Because I can do that in 5-6 minutes, especially if I'm married. Just ask my wife, like she could get your long list like right there. Boom. Okay, what do you want me to do? Spend 30 minutes a day? Like for what? What am I supposed to do? Just sit there and say I lie? Sit there and say I have lust? Sit there and say that I gossip? Like what do you want me to do? Well, again, the goal is not the outside. The goal is the inside. Okay, we read one of the prophecies, I think it was this morning or yesterday, I don't remember, from the book of Job. And Job said, who can bring a clean thing out of an unclean? No one. Who can bring a clean thing out of an unclean? No one. Meaning, the outside is not our focus because no matter what happens on the outside, if the inside is not clean, there's never going to be good come out of it. That's what Jesus told us the same thing. Okay, out of the abundance of the heart, the mouth speaks. Make it good on the inside. Don't just worry about the outside. You Pharisees cleanse the outside, but you don't worry about the inside. John the Baptist came and said, now the axe is laid to the root. And that's what we're trying to do. We're trying to go to the root and lay the axe to it during this Holy Week so that God can do a great work at that deep level. Because you would agree with this. Is it possible? Think about this. Is it possible to be good on the outside and bad on the inside? Of course. And is it possible the opposite? To be bad on the outside, but good on the inside? Again, back to the book by C.S. Lewis, Mere Christianity. One of the things he talked about there was about how for Christianity, the worst thing is judging. The worst thing is judging. And Jesus said the same thing. Judge not, lest ye be judged. The worst thing is judging. Because judging, what it does is it disregards the most important component of humanity. And realizing that all of us are unique on the inside, all of us are dealing with different, what he calls raw material. And some of our raw material is prone to anger and prone to impatience. And some of us, the way we were raised or our upbringing or whatever it may be, others of us just naturally are calm. The one who's naturally calm, by staying calm, is not doing anything greater than the one who is naturally, anxious and upset and kind of volatile, and he's fighting against it, and he's struggling, and he's doing his best. So on the outside, we may see one is good and one is bad, but God sees the inside. And there may be, in all of us as well, that we may be good on the outside, but maybe on the inside, based on what we were given, and based on what God is calling us for, maybe it's not as good as we think. Our goal is to go deep, to discover who our true self is. Go deep inside. Unlike Adam. Adam, God revealed to him. Adam saw he was naked, and he saw his real self, and he said, oh no. And what he tried to do, he tried to hide. As opposed to revealing it to God and being come clean with God, he tried to hide himself. And that's why Adam got himself in some trouble. For us, we are going to go deep. God is going to reveal. But just like any doctor, he only reveals or exposes in order to heal us. So with that said, here's what we're going to do. We're going to go through the Gospels from today. Okay, several of the Gospels today were parables. Okay, and we're going to look at 4 parables, 2 from the morning hours, 2 from the evening hours. And we're going to learn from these parables what we can learn about how God looks at the inside. And what God sees in there. We're going to see 4 things. Okay, each parable is going to teach us something that leads to death on the inside. Because like I said earlier, for those who are here, all of the readings today were focused on judgment. And all of them were focused on God's anger. And we're focused on what God is displeasing to God. Okay, and like Father Timothy talked to us about anger, we don't look at that like in a human way. But what we see is that judgment is an inevitable part of life. So let's look at how God looks at us on the inside based on the Gospels. I'm going to ask you to pull out your lectionary, your Holy Week readings in front of you. Okay, so you can flip with me and we can be a little bit interactive right here. Okay, since again, we got a little bit of extra time. We're a little bit early here today. So let's start with the 11th hour from this morning. That would be the 11th hour of Tuesday. Okay, every day we have a morning service and evening service. The morning of today was called Tuesday. The evening is called Eve of Wednesday. Okay, the Jewish day goes from sundown to sundown. Okay, like 6 p.m. to 6 p.m. So let's go. We're going to see the 11th hour of Tuesday, and then we're going to jump up to the Eve of Wednesday after that. The 11th hour of Tuesday brought us two parables. Okay, came from Matthew. 11th hour right here. It came from the end of the Gospel of Matthew. Right, Matthew chapter 25 and 26, but mainly from 25. The first parable, if you're at home with your families, y'all can answer out loud. The first parable that we get there is the parable of the talents. Very good. Someone probably said it out there. The parable of the talents. And it's a story that we all know. A man who was going to a faraway country. He had some servants. To one servant he gave 5 talents. To one he gave 2. To another he gave 1. Goes away for a long time and he comes back. And when he comes back, he asks for what they did with their talents. Okay? And the one with the 5 talents gave him another 5. And he says, well done, good and faithful servant. Good for you. The one with the 2 talents got another 2. Well done, good and faithful servant. Now let's look at the guy with the 1 talent. Okay? This would be on the second page, on page 96, if you have the same Holy Week lectionary that I got. Then he who had received the 1 talent came and said, Lord, I knew you to be a hard man, reaping where you have not sown, and gathering where you have not scattered seed. And I was afraid. And I was afraid, and I went and hid your talent in the ground. Look there, what you have is yours. Well, his Lord answered and said to him, you wicked and lazy servant, you knew that I reap where I have not sown, and gather where I have not scattered seed. It kind of goes downhill from there, okay? Cast into outer darkness, gnashing of teeth and wailing and all that kind of stuff. We'll just kind of stop right there. You know how that story ends. If you're taking notes at home, there's 4 things that lead to death on the inside. And the first one we learn from this parable is fear. Fear leads to death. The man said that he was afraid. Let me ask you a question. What was he afraid of? What was he afraid of? He said, I was afraid, so I didn't do anything with the 1 talent. I think that this man was afraid that what he had was not enough. Wasn't good enough. That I can't do it. Too hard. Too much. And I think, especially if you look at the whole parable, the exact opposite was actually true. This man looked around and said, that guy got 5. And that guy got 2. Man, I could at best get 1. And there's no way 1's going to be enough. And what happens if I lose that 1? And he got afraid. But you know what? The master, all he needed from this guy, did he need 5 from him? Or 2 from him? He only needed 1. But the problem was this guy was afraid, and the reason why is he looked around as opposed to looking up. He looked and said, oh no, I can't do what that guy did. Oh, I'll never catch up to that. Oh, and I'm so far behind that. Oh no, what am I going to do? And all he needed to do was say, God, what do you need from me? He needed to look up and trust in God. I'm reading a book. Okay, hopefully everyone has a Holy Week book that they're reading. I'm reading a great book here. It's called The Life, okay? It's called The Life of Father Anthony. I mean, The Life of Saint Anthony, okay? You can use the 2 terms interchangeably, okay? Just joking, okay? The Life of Saint Anthony right here. And in this, one of the things that Saint Anthony says, he talks about fear as an entry point for the devil. Fear as an entry point for the devil. That when there's fear on the inside, we give the devil, it's like giving the devil a seat inside our living room. Okay, when we have a chair called fear, the devil makes himself at home right there. This is what he says right here. Let me pull this up. Okay. He talks about how the devil controls us and manipulates us through fear. Sorry. He talks about the demons and how the demons attack us and all kinds of stuff like that. If they see us fearful and faint-hearted, meaning the demons, so much the more do they augment our faint-heartedness in the form of phantoms and threats, and thus the poor soul is tormented for the future. But if they find us rejoicing in the Lord, meditating on good things to come, and contemplating the things that are the Lord's, considering that everything is in the Lord's hands, and that a demon has no power over a Christian, that in fact he has no power over anyone at all, then, seeing the soul safeguarded with thoughts such as these, they are put to shame and they turn away. Saying basically that when a devil sees us in fear, he runs to us. Fear is like a magnet for him. If he sees this one is afraid and doesn't know and can't trust and whatever it may be, he runs to that person. So that person's situation goes from bad to worse. But the exact opposite.
when he sees someone meditating on the good things to come, contemplating the things that are the Lord's, trusting that all is in his hand, then he has nothing that he can do in him. And he says like this. He says, wherefore, if we wish to despise the enemy, meaning if we wish to get rid of the devil out of our lives, let us always keep our thoughts upon the things of the Lord, and let the soul ever rejoice in hope. We shall then see the trumperies of the demons as so much smoke, and see them fleeing rather than pursuing. For they, as I said, abject cowards, always apprehensive of the fire which has been prepared for them. See what he's saying right there? He's saying when we have fear, we give the devil a chance to manipulate us and control us, and we give him an entry point into our lives. Let me ask you a question. Be honest with yourself. Fear. Some of us, we know fear very well. We're very well rehearsed in fear. We practice it daily. And maybe, if we're honest and we go to the root, maybe our problem, maybe the reason why we're so controlling, maybe the reason why we're so difficult, maybe the reason why we struggle to let go, maybe the reason why we're overbearing, maybe the reason why is because of fear. We look at it as those outside things, but maybe it's something deeper. Jesus said there's only one person we should fear, and that's the one who has the power to cast us into hell. But for many of us, unfortunately, that is not the case. Well, the answer, as St. Anthony told us right there, okay, with every one of these, we'll try to find what we can do to combat it. Okay, if fear is in there and fear leads to death, the solution is exactly what we just did in this last series, Unshakable, is to meditate upon the character of God and to understand God and to know God. And as St. Anthony said, that everything is in his hands. And the more and more we meditate upon his character, the more and more that fear starts to go away. Okay? So that's the first parable, the parable of the talents. Fear leads to death. Second parable was the parable of the sheep and the goats, and that's in the same passage. Okay? And the lesson there is that selfishness leads to death. Selfishness leads to death. Let's go back to the parable. It's back in the 11th hour, okay, of Tuesday from this morning. And as when Jesus said, when the Son of Man comes in all his glory, with the holy angels with him, he'll sit on the throne, he'll separate them one from the other, as a shepherd divides the sheep from the goats. And he will set the sheep on his right hand, but the goats on the left. And the king will say to those on his right hand, come, you blessed of my Father, inherit the kingdom prepared for you from the foundation of the world. Why? What is the criteria that differentiates the sheep from the goats? Talking about the judgment day. Talking about, again, not about the outside, but on the inside. And what you'll see is the sheep versus the goats, selfless life versus selfish life. Let's stick with the positive, with the sheep. He says, you guys, I was hungry, you gave me food. I was thirsty, you gave me drink. I was a stranger, you took me in. I was naked, you clothed me. I was sick, you visited me. I was in prison, you came to me. And they'll answer him and say, when did we do any of that stuff, Lord? And he'll say, when you did it for the least of these. When you were not looking at yourself, when you were looking at others, when you were living a selfless life, then you're actually doing it to me. So the second inside that we have to be afraid of is selfishness. Now here's the cool thing. I know nobody probably remembers this, but do you realize that I said the first two was the fear and selfishness? You realize those are the last two series that we did at the well this year? And I know nobody remembers the selfish one because that was back at the start of the year, back in February, okay, which is like ages and ages and ages ago, right? That was the series New Year, Less Me, if you remember it, where we talked about selfishness. And the theme of that series was very simple, was that in the universe, there's a sun, and then there's a whole bunch of stuff that revolves around it. Well, in your life, who's the sun and who's the stuff that revolves around it? Unless God is the sun, everything in your life will be broken. Okay, that's what we talked about in that series. Let me say it a different way like we read yesterday. Who's the master and who's the servant? Who's the creator and who's the creature? Whose will is it that the other one needs to get in line with? Is it God needs to get in line with my will? Or I need to get in line with God's? Again, some of us, we have to be honest. We're living for ourselves. We wouldn't say it that way, but maybe when we open up that closet door, we'll realize, you know what? It is all about me. It is all selfishness. It is all about my kingdom. It is all about my happiness. It is all about my plans. It's all about me, me, me. And again, this doesn't mean that you're bad on the outside. On the outside, you may be good. Here I am. I'm a priest. I'm serving God. But is it possible to serve God for the wrong reasons? Is it possible that I stand here and preach because I want people to say, good job, Father Anthony? Is it possible that I want attention for myself and glory for myself? Absolutely, it's possible. So just doing outside stuff is not the differentiating factor. We need to go on the inside. And I'll give you an example. The Pharisees are a clear example that Jesus speaks over and over and over about them. They were good on the outside, but for the wrong reasons on the inside. How about the opposite? Look at Jesus. Jesus lived the perfect life of self-denial. Because Jesus came, again, he is the first, okay, the first fruits, and we are all walking the same road. He came to show us what a true life, okay, the life that we're trying to get, what true life looks like. And the road that he walked to get there was one of complete self-denial, complete selflessness. From the minute he was born to the minute he died, he lived as poor, not rich. Okay, they were all social classes. He was low social class. He was mocked. He was jeered. He was accused of stuff that he didn't commit. They told him that he was crazy. They said he was demon possessed. Okay, everywhere Jesus went. Okay, not even talking about him dying on the cross. We don't even get there. Okay, but what you see is that Jesus' life was 0% self, 100% God, the Father, and the will of the Father. Ask yourself, okay? First, fear leads to death. Second, selfishness leads to death. Let's go to the third one. The third one comes now from the first hour of the eve of Wednesday. So that was something that we read a little bit ago. So open up your Bible, your lectionary to the eve of Wednesday, first hour. And it's from Matthew chapter 22. And Matthew chapter 22 is a parable that Jesus gave about a wedding feast, about a marriage of a well-to-do person. And it says, the kingdom of heaven is like a certain king who arranged the marriage for his son and sent out his servants to call those who were invited to the wedding. And they were not willing to come. And if you read the passage from the account from the gospel according to St. Luke, he says each one made up excuses. Oh, I just got married. I'm kind of busy. Oh, I just bought me a field. I don't have time now. Oh, work is busy these days. And they each made up excuses after excuse after excuse. Fear will kill us. Selfishness will kill us. Distraction will kill us. And these are the people who are distracted, and they were not focused on the goal and the prize ahead. Now you look at this and say, well, this would never be us. Okay, this one's easy, okay? Maybe on the fear one, maybe on the selfishness, but I'm not distracted. I would never be this guy who is invited to the wedding banquet and didn't go. Are you crazy? Like, what are you thinking? Are you sure about that? We'd never let go of the invitation by the master? Well, what happens when we spend hours on Netflix and minutes in our Bible? Well, what happens when we're constantly checking our social media and we can't remember the last time we prayed? What happens when it's a Sunday morning and we have a million things that need to get done on Sunday morning only, and church can wait for another week? What happens when a priest tells us that our soul may be saved by spending 30 minutes a day in quiet, and the entire world is shut down, and we had nothing to do, and we can't do that? What shall it profit a man if he gains the whole world and loses his own soul? Okay, and again, I'm going to go back to my man St. Anthony right here. And St. Anthony said it this way. Okay, obviously the monks gave up everything. But St. Anthony says this to us to encourage us. For the whole world. Okay, he's basically talking to someone else who's considering becoming a monk. Okay, and he's saying you should not worry about the stuff you give up. He says, for even the whole world is a very trifling thing compared with all of heaven. And then logically you're like, yeah, of course it is. The whole world versus heaven is not even close. Accordingly, if we should be lords of the whole earth and renounce the whole earth. So he's saying if you were master and king and supreme of the entire earth and you gave that up, this would again mean nothing as compared with the kingdom of heaven. He's saying that you wouldn't be giving up anything. If you owned everything in the entire universe and you gave it up for heaven, you didn't make a bad deal. As though a person should despise 1 copper drachma to gain 100 drachmas of gold, so is he who is Lord of all the earth and renounces it, really gives up but little and receives 100-fold. If then even the whole earth is not equal in value to heaven, certainly one who gives up a few acres must not boast nor be careless, for what he leaves behind is practically nothing, even though it be a home or a tidy sum of money he parts with. What shall it profit a man if he gains the whole world and loses his own soul? St. Anthony's advice to us, and maybe God is revealing this to us as well, is never let anything on this side of eternity get in the way of anything on that side of eternity. Again, never let anything on this side of eternity get in the way or slow you down or impede your path or distract you from anything on that side of eternity. Last one. We had fear, we had selfishness, we had distractedness, and then the last one is the parable from the 6th hour, which of the 10 virgins. Okay? And that's a story that we all know very well. You had 10 virgins that were waiting for the master. 5 foolish, 5 wise. Master comes. Okay, we can read that passage, and it's in the 6th hour. All right. What happens when the master comes? They all slumbered and slept, and at midnight a cry was heard, "Behold, the bridegroom is coming, go out to meet him." Then all the virgins arose and trimmed their lamps. And the foolish said to the wise, "Give us some of your oil, for our lamps are going out." But the wise answered, saying, "No, lest there should not be enough for us and you, but go rather to those who sell and buy for yourselves." And as you know how the story, they went out and bought. And by the time they got back, the door was shut, and they were stuck on the outside. So fear will kill us, leads to death. Selfishness leads to death. Distractedness leads to death. And ultimately, unpreparedness leads to death. They were unprepared for the inevitable. And in fact, they were unprepared for the inevitable thing that they spent all night waiting for. Anything important in life requires preparation. You have an exam, you prepare. You have an interview, you prepare. First day on the job, you prepare. Pandemic, you get all the toilet paper out in the entire world, you prepare. Okay, we know that's one thing that we're good at, is we know how to prepare. Something is coming, and we prepare and we over-prepare. I'll tell you, the only inevitable thing in life is that you and I will stand before the throne of God, before the judgment seat of God. And I say this in love, not in guilt and condemnation, none of that stuff. You know me, that's not my style. But I ask you an honest question out of love. Are you ready? Are you ready to see the judge? Are you prepared? Is your heart prepared? Is your soul prepared? It's going to happen. I guarantee you it's going to happen. You and I, you're going to see him. What are you going to say when he asks you why you treat your brother the way you treat your brother? What are you going to say? What's going to be your answer? What are you going to say when he says why you judge so easily and you talk about people behind their back? What are you going to say when he asks you why you refuse to trust me and why you insist that your way is better than my way and why you insist that I don't know what I'm doing and you're the only one who has the plan that works in life? What are you going to say when he asks you about your lackadaisical attitude towards his commandments, which he said are the means by which we show our love to him? No answer? Look, here's the thing. I love you, okay? And I know you love me, and we all love each other. But on that day, no one can help each other. Like, we can help each other now, but no one can help on that day. Asking for help on the judgment day is kind of like you're going for a physical exam to the doctor, okay? I can help you leading up to the physical, but like, okay, I'm at the physical right now. Help me to lose weight. It's kind of too late. Like, it's too late. There's nothing I can do right now. Like, I can't carry some of you. It doesn't work that way. Help me to get my blood pressure down. It doesn't work that way. Once we're in front of the judge, once we're in front of the doctor, it's too late. Kind of like this morning we read the story of Noah. Okay, Noah was there to help the people and to save the people. But once the flood started happening, and once the gates were shut and the rain started coming, it's too late. It's not that Noah didn't want to help them, but it's too late. That's why the 5 virgins, Okay, you ever think about it? Why these five virgins didn't help and share some of their oil? They're so holier than thou. Okay, so unsharing. Like, come on, man, give us some of your oil. Come on, man, just spare oil for a friend. We waited all night here, just a little bit drop of oil. That's not how it works. You can't. In that day, even the angels, the saints, everyone is silent. St. Paul says it this way in 2 Corinthians chapter 5, verse 10. He says, we all must appear before the judgment seat of Christ, that each one may receive the things done in the body according to what he has done, whether good or bad. We must all appear before the judgment seat of Christ. That's not a suggestion. That's not a maybe could happen. That's inevitability. And my question out of love is, are you ready? Are you prepared? How's that for an uplifting message? I do have some good news for you. The good news is this. I know it's not going to sound like good news, but it actually is good news. The good news is you don't have to wait to stand before the judgment seat of God. You don't have to wait. You can do it sooner. And the difference is, if you do it now, there's a chance to correct it. If you do it now is the chance. Now is like when the teacher says exam on Friday, but if you come in on Tuesday, I'll help you. And Wednesday, and Thursday, and even Friday morning. Being afraid to stand in front of God now is foolish. Because now is the time when he corrects us. And now is the time when he says, this and this is death. And we say, thank you, because you revealed it to me now when there's something that I can do about it. In the end, showing up to the teacher's office the day before the test and revealing to her or him that you have no idea what you're doing may end up saving your grade, may end up saving your semester. Standing before God today may end up saving your soul. Facing the judgment of God. When I say facing the judgment, I mean facing God and having him reveal the stuff that's on the inside may save you for eternity. And that's the good news. The good news is that God has not left us here alone. God is with us. God is with us. And this week in particular, this is the week. This is the week of healing. This is a week when the doctor is working. This is a week, all we're doing this week is our good physician is coming here amongst us to fix, to heal, to cleanse, to correct. And there's no limit. This is the week of second chances and third chances and fourth chances and fifth chances. This is the week of compassion. This is the week of grace. This is the week of mercy. Like, this is the week when the doors are open, and even on the cross, arms are wide open. It says, everybody come to me. Father, forgive them, for they know not what they do. We would be foolish to not come this week and say, I'll take my chances at the end. Hiding from God this week is like hiding from a mirror. When you hide from a mirror, this does not change my appearance. That's what some of us do. Okay, we look in the mirror, we don't like it. Okay, it's fixed now. No, it's not. This didn't fix anything. This is not a good way to go through life, hoping that when this is unveiled, that somehow we magically be different. For some of us. And I'll give you more good news. You think you need to go in front of God and reveal your true self? I got news for you. He already knows. Everybody knows. The people around you know. And they're the ones who are suffering the most by the stuff that are inside of us. Everybody knows except one person. And that's us. St. Paul says in Hebrews chapter 4, verse 13, there is no creature hidden from his sight. He's talking about now, not talking about then. No creature hidden from his sight, but all things are naked and open to the eyes of him to whom we must give account. Now is the time of mercy. Now is the time of second chances. Now is the time, Peter, you denied me, come on back. Now is time, thief on the right hand, you said one word. You said one word your entire life. First one, enter today will be with me in paradise. Now is the day, like I said, that mercy. So I wouldn't wait. Because there's one thing that the love of God cannot overcome. Listen carefully. There's one thing that the love of God cannot overcome. The love of God can overcome any sin, any stain, no matter how bad it is. But there's one thing the love of God cannot overcome. That is self-deception. that is lying to ourselves and is refusing to see the truth about who we are on the inside. For that, there is no solution. My prayer is that all of us would open our eyes. Better, that God would open our eyes, but we would be willing to see that which is inside of us. And the reason why this is so important, the reason why I'm harping on this, and then I'm done after this. The reason I'm harping on this, because you will notice there are so many Psalms in particular where we talk about God, my deliverer, and save me from the lions, and save me from the dogs, and save me from my enemies, and save me, and save me, and save me, and deliver me. Well, until you know what it is that is leading to death on the inside, what is it you're praying for salvation from? You need to identify the enemy. What are the dogs that are attacking us? And what is the enemy? And what is the sword? And what is the unicorns? What is all that stuff that the Psalms are talking about? That's the death on the inside of us. And when you identify and you know, yes, for me, it's fear, or it's selfishness, or I'm distracted, or whatever it may be, until you identify, then you're just going to say those words. But once you know what that is, then you're going to close your eyes during the Psalm. You're going to say, yes, God, deliver me. Deliver me from the selfishness that's inside me. Deliver me from the ego that's inside me. Deliver me from the fear that I can't get past. Lord, deliver me and save me. Because that's who you are. You are Emmanuel. You are, oh my Lord Jesus Christ, my good Savior. My question to you is, what is it that you're asking for salvation from? Glory be to God forever. Amen.